I've done too many interviews where I've been accused of like...
Oh, I'm not accusing you. I don't think a fair read of the evidence suggests suicide at all.
AI will end up being the thing that saves us from AI.
It's essentially just Bitcoin done in a different way where you're not constrained by the block times, you're not constrained by block space, but you have all of the same functionality as Bitcoin.
What is up, guys? This is the High Signal Podcast Clips of the Week number 2. I am Jim coming at you from Pleb Lab. If this is your first time tuning in, this is a quick show where I surface some high quality clips relevant to Bitcoin and freedom maximalism, and I use pullthatupjamie.ai to locate my favorite clips. So this week we have 3 new clips. We're going to hit it hard with some AI doomerism, and then we're going to finish it off with some major white pills with freedom-focused AI tools and some great Bitcoin payment and UX innovations. So let's dive into it. First clip is Tucker presses Sam Altman on the mysterious death of his employee. So this one caught my eye because I caught the first podcast with this guy's mother. The guy's name is Sushir Balaji, and he was a former OpenAI employee that was blowing the whistle on some really suspect ethics from OpenAI. According to his mother, he was doing well. There's really nothing wrong. And there were some really weird circumstances surrounding his death. And this week, Tucker interviewed Sam Altman, and Sam, it was pretty awkward the way Sam handled this. I have a lot of respect for Sam, and I think he's obviously a very smart person. He's very good at, pretending like he's a human, but I think after the WorldCoin stuff, I think a lot of us Bitcoiners kind of know there's something wrong with this guy, and I think we saw kind of a chink in his armor here in this interview. Let's watch it real quick.
If a guy comes out and accuses your company of committing crimes, I have no idea if that's true or not, of course, and then is found killed and there are signs of a struggle, I don't think it's worth dismissing it. I don't think we should say, well, he killed himself when there's no evidence that the guy was depressed at all. I think, and if he was your friend, I would think you would want to speak to his mom or...
I did offer, she didn't want to.
So, do you feel that, when people look at that and they're like, it's possible that happened, do you feel that that reflects the worries they have about what's happening here? Like, people are afraid that this is like...
I've done too many interviews where I've been accused of
Oh, I'm not accusing you at all. I'm just saying...
Right off the bat, he's pretty defensive. I think that might belie more. Who knows? Maybe he has no idea what actually happened there, but wait until Tucker gets into the details. They're pretty sus.
His mother says that. I don't think a fair read of the evidence suggests suicide at all. I just don't see that at all. And I also don't understand why the authorities, when there's signs of a struggle and blood in 2 rooms on a suicide, how does that actually happen? I don't understand how the authorities could just kind of dismiss that as a suicide. I think it's weird.
You understand how this sounds like an accusation?
Of course. And I certainly, let me just be clear once again, I'm not accusing you of any wrongdoing, but I think it's worth finding out what happened. And I don't understand why the city of San Francisco has refused to investigate it beyond just calling it a suicide.
I think they looked into it a couple of times, more than once as I understand it. I saw and I will totally say, when I first heard about this, it sounded very suspicious to me.
Yes.
And I know you had been involved in...
Well, his mother
you were
reached
asked to
out
look into
to
the case.
And I don't know anything about it. It's not my world.
She just reached out cold?
She reached out cold.
Wow.
And I spoke to her at great length, and it scared the crap out of me. The kid was clearly killed by somebody. That was my conclusion, objectively, with no skin in the game.
And you, after reading the latest report?
Yes.
Look.
I immediately called a member of Congress from California, Ro Khanna, and said, this is crazy, you got to look into this. And nothing ever happened. And I'm like, what is that?
Again, I think this is, I feel strange and sad debating this and having to
I'm not
myself
even
seems
debating
totally
it, I'm
crazy.
just
And you are a
asking.
little bit accusing me, but this was like a wonderful person and a family that is clearly struggling.
Yes.
And I think you can totally take the point that you're just trying to get to the truth of what happened, and I respect that. But I think his memory and his family deserve to be treated with a level of respect and grief that I don't quite feel here.
I'm asking at the behest of his family. So I'm definitely showing them respect.
And that's like the first component, which is like, Tucker did an interview with his mom. His mom really wanted to go on Tucker's show and tell the story. So, the first time, like, you could argue, okay, he's being sensitive to the family, he doesn't know, but you'll find later he'll keep going back to this point, and it's like, I don't know, man. Like, that just seems like a play that you keep trying to get out of this conversation, but it doesn't work. Tucker stays on him.
Correct. And I'm not accusing you of any involvement in this at all. What I am saying is that the evidence does not suggest suicide, and for the authorities in your city to elide past that and ignore the evidence that any reasonable person would say adds up to a murder, I think is very weird, and it shakes the faith that one has in our system's ability to respond to the facts.
So what I was going to say is, after the first set of information that came out, I was really like, man, this doesn't look like a suicide. I'm confused. This looks like...
Okay, so I'm not being crazy.
Yeah, it's like he's changing his tune here. Like, now he's conceding that it may have looked like a suicide, but he changed his mind.
Well, but then after the second thing came out and the more detail, I was like, oh, okay.
What changed your mind?
The second report on the way the bullet entered him and the sort of person who had like followed the sort of likely path of things through the room. I assume you looked at this too.
Yes, I did.
And what about that didn't change your mind?
It just didn't make any sense to me. Why would the security camera wires be cut? And how did he wind up bleeding in 2 rooms after shooting himself? And why was there a wig in the room that wasn't his? And has there ever been a suicide where there's no indication at all that the person was suicidal, who just ordered takeout food? I mean, who orders DoorDash and then shoots himself? I mean, maybe. I've covered a lot of crimes as a police reporter. I've never heard of anything like that. So no, I was even more confused.
This is where it gets into, I think, a little bit painful, just not the level of respect I'd hope to show to someone with this kind of mental
I get
illness.
it. I totally.
He goes back to it, but it's like Tucker's friends with the family. Like, the family wants him to press this. And I don't know. I think the mask fell.
get it. If
People
his
do commit
family
suicide
asked
without
me.
notes a lot. Like, that happens.
For sure.
People definitely order food they like before they commit suicide. Like, this is an incredible tragedy, and
That's his family's view, and they think it was a murder, and that's why I'm asking the question.
if I were his family, I am sure I would want answers, and I'm sure.
I don't know. It's sus. Like, I don't know if he actually did anything or not. I allegedly, but the way he handles this, like, he started off, he did better than I thought he was gonna do, but man, like, going back to that same play of like, it's not respectful to the family. The family wants Tucker to ask these questions, so I think it's totally fair. And I doubt anything will come of this, but it definitely, you add the WorldCoin thing to this, a lot of the privacy issues, a lot of the deep state collaboration with OpenAI. I think it's all sus. I think there's something wrong with this guy, and I think it's worthy of note. And should we really be entrusting our our AI data to him? Should we really be like letting him build a centralized monolithic AI? I argue he shouldn't. That's why I build on AI. That's why I love working with people like the people over at Open Secret, doing freedom ethics focused AI, that still performs but doesn't erect a massive panopticon. So yeah, that definitely raised my eyebrow. Curious what you guys think. Tell me what you think in the comments. But given the massive importance of AI, I don't think it's wise to entrust it with someone like this. So so that's my 2 cents on that. But this is a good segue into the next clip. Actually, first I'm going to share that over on, pull that up, Jamie.ai, because I love this clip. And I'm going to go in here. I'm going to have the AI write me a post here. Yeah. Who orders DoorDash then shoots themselves? It's definitely sus, man. So I'm just going to go ahead and post this now, and it's going to go out to Twitter and Noster for all you other psychos to check out. Boom. All right. So next clip is going to be from TFTC. Marty had an immunologist come on, and they had overall great pod. Check it out. Very high signal pod. This woman was correct on COVID from the start, and really brings the receipts on some really good data. And the part that interests me was when they just start discussing AI and some of these dark possibilities. So I distilled this one part of the clip here.
And I don't know what wrong path means, and I don't know what we need to do to prevent a wrong path from happening. However, weirdly enough, I just have a feeling that AI will end up being the thing that saves us from AI. I think that it might actually be the only thing that could save us from AI. Like, if there was a rogue AI, or one that decided it didn't need humans, if there was let's just call it a benevolent AI whose only goal was to, at all costs, even at its own expense, save the humans, maybe that's redundant, but whatever. It might be the only thing that's powerful enough because of the access. If the internet is still on and there's still power abundance, to stop certain things from being done to humans, without getting too imaginative. One of these days I'm going to write this all down, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Like, everything is becoming digitized now. Everything is, going to become eye scans and barcodes and all this shit. Now, all that is going to be monitored and controlled by AIs. And it's only a matter of time before the human element is removed from that, I think, which is bad. So you see where, I know that was a lot, but I think about this a lot, and I'm evolving my thoughts on it all the time. And it seems to me that we really have opened Pandora's box here. And I mean,
based off of this conversation, we've opened multiple Pandora's boxes.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's much hope, but I'm always smiling. Notice that. Like, I am hopeful, and I think over the last 5 years, I would say now that I'm a believer in God, whatever God is.
Yeah, so I'm going to end it there. I think she brought up some good points. I mean, to me, this stood out to me simply because I've been, freedom person, but also, focused on AI. And, frankly, I saw the very dark possibilities of centralization and privacy and control around AI. And I just wanted to kind of face my fears and go into this and try to find a way to build the future I want to see with Cascaders. So this stood out to me, and I think she brought up a lot of good points. I mean, ironically enough, like, I have AI that curates clips and tries to make them, and I noticed that she has some controversial views. Like, the AI will shy away from like highlighting those parts of the podcast because what it does is it tries to pick out like clips for me, and I happen to, I share them on Twitter and Noster, and it surfaces like good clips to me, and a lot of the times they're on point. For this particular episode, I noticed that the AI was trying to surface mostly Marty's ad reads, which I thought was crazy, and I think part of it has to be I was able to get it to give me what I wanted after like coaxing it, but it seems like it's got an aversion to certain types of controversial opinions, especially around things like, the jab. So like that's what happened. I because of the way the economics work right now, I do use some external APIs, and they happen to have certain biases. So I'm working towards, new paradigms. And I think this LLM paradigm is very dangerous because it is highly, highly centralized. And but at the same time, like, I share this woman's optimism. I have a white pill, and for me, it's that I think the LLM-centric paradigm is incredibly fragile. It's dangerous, but it's fragile, and I think it's starting to hit diminishing returns. Like, the fact that we have to re-engineer our entire grid just to accommodate it, I think is a sign that maybe it's not the best way to go. And I have some things in the works right now, using some non-LLM techniques that I think are going to make a big splash. I think there's a lot of smaller teams that people are sleeping on that have some really cutting edge stuff. So I can't talk about it just yet, but I think the LLMs are very bloated, and there's a lot of groupthink around just pouring more money into the LLMs or just using the LLM more. But I think there's other models that allow you to keep your privacy and sovereignty, run more lightweight models, and still get, I would argue, even better performance, especially better performance for the cost, if you embrace some of these newer techniques. So I'm looking forward to rolling that out soon. Keep your eye out for that. Stay tuned, folks. But that'll do it for this clip. I'm gonna go over to pull that up, Jamie, and share that. So I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna cross post this to Twitter and Noster. So I'm gonna let AI write me a nice little clip here, and then I'm also going to make sure that I tag Marty so that he sees it. So if I do this, I should be able to get both of Marty's tags. So it will cross post to both Twitter and Noster under Marty's tags, and it will share the link on Fountain to both. So that's clip number 2. Let's move on to clip number 3. This one was from Ungovernable Misfits. Had a powerhouse of a panel up there. They had Max Bit by Bit alongside Seth for Privacy from Cake Wallet and Zach from Foundation Devices. So this was a great crew, very high signal, very galaxy brained individuals. And I really love how each of their rips, they have a lot of questions from the audience, a lot of questions that I personally have, and they do a really good job of answering them and evaluating trade-offs and such. And so one project I really like that I haven't had time to follow recently is the ARC Payments project. So that's, let me switch tabs here. So that's this project here. This is sort of an alternative way to do payments. A lot of people seem to see it as an alternative to Lightning, but apparently it has a lot of interoperability with Lightning, and it's a great technology. Ironically enough, I remember being in Plab Lab like a couple years ago when Barack and Tiero were kind of whiteboarding this. It was just an idea. We weren't sure if and when it would be available, and they've come a long way. And so Seth provides a really good update on that. I'm going to just go ahead and play that clip here.
Briefly introed this, but so ARC, you asked what are virtual UTXOs like Surfer. So the basic idea behind ARC is that it is a Bitcoin second layer in a sense, but essentially all it is pre-signed Bitcoin transactions. Anything you can do on Bitcoin, you can do in ARC, and there's a central server that coordinates those transactions to make sure that they abide by certain rules, but it's not custodial. You can always exit on chain. VTXOs is just the term used to describe the UTXOs that are within ARC because they're not published on chain in most scenarios. They never become actual unspent transaction outputs on Bitcoin. They remain virtual UTXOs or VTXOs. So it's it's nice in the sense that it's essentially just Bitcoin done in a different way, where you're not constrained by the block times, you're not constrained by block space, but you have all of the same functionality as Bitcoin. So building things that already exist on Bitcoin on Arc are quite straightforward. That's one of the pros there, and that's why this integration between Arc and Boltz as the Lightning compatibility layer, for lack of a better term, makes so much sense. Boltz already has Lightning to Bitcoin swaps and have been killing it in the Lightning space for a long time as a result. And now with Arc, they do Lightning VTXO swaps. So when you're using Lightning, quote unquote Lightning, in an Arc wallet in the future, what you're actually doing is you're sending a VTXO from your Arc wallet to Boltz, the central entity. They are atomic swapping that for Lightning payment to whatever your destination is. And then they keep the VTXO. They can claim that later for on-chain Bitcoin if they want, or they can keep it as a VTXO if they want. That's up to them. So the privacy itself is a little hard to quantify. Within Arc, you could say the privacy is quite poor because a central entity sees every transaction, and there's a lot of potential for address reuse. It essentially inherits all of the privacy problems of Bitcoin, but so far without any of the privacy tooling of Bitcoin. So it's pretty poor when it comes to privacy within Arc. I think the key thing to remember, though, is it's still quite good when you're using it primarily with Lightning, where you're not going to be directly associating an on-chain transaction to your Lightning activity, which can be a privacy improvement. And in the future, it's very, very possible that people can build out pay join, coin join, silent payments. You can build out a lot of interesting things around Arc because it really is just Bitcoin. So that was man, I'm really bad at TLDRs, but the long version of what Arc was. But really cool to see it used well, a good proof, because I think a lot of the concerns with Arc so far have been that.
Yeah, I'm going to stop it there. I really like this project. Maybe it wasn't completely obvious, but they're talking about it in the context of at a conference, something like 1,300 payments were done via Arc, and they partnered up with another great team, Boltz, to kind of create like an atomic swapping system. And I guess everyone at the conference was using Arc and they didn't even know it. And the reason why Arc is a big deal is because onboarding and scaling with Lightning is very, very difficult. You're basically only creating these channels. Like it seems very hard to scale Lightning, even though it has a lot of great properties. And they're talking about how, if you can interoperate them and work them in parallel, and you can have these big pools of VTXOs that are getting pushed out every so often, that you can overcome a lot of the scaling issues and UX issues that you have with first onboarding somebody into payment networks like Lightning. So I thought this was super cool. Really excited to see what these guys are building. And, as he points out, there's still some privacy tooling that's got to come out, but I trust that, that team's going to figure that out and figure out the UX. I think it's impressive that they were able to do so many transactions and nobody even really knew that they were using Arc. So I think that's, good technology sometimes is like good plastic surgery. You don't even notice it, and it's completely seamless to the user. So hats off to the Arc team and to the Boltz team for some great work there. And hats off to the Ungovernable Misfits for covering really important projects. So curious to see how that works out. Then we're going to wrap it up here. So that'll do it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I think I did a good job of balancing the yang of doomerism alongside the yin of some freedom tech. And I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know in the comments.